Mabuhay, Kamustika. Welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. No regrets. Have no regrets. We've all done things we regretted or regret things that we didn't do. When I started or continued on this search for a wife to keep me from giving up, I heard some wise words once, and that was have no regrets. You know, do what you have to do to find a wife. Don't get to the point where at the end of your life you regret what you did or what you didn't do. And I know that if I had stopped looking after an unbelievable 30 years of being alone, I would have been filled with regret. Yeah, it took that long. Now, while people were telling me to be content, I certainly would have regretted not being married. I knew I had to have a wife, and I know some of you feel the same way. And this was especially puzzling when some of this talk about contentment was coming from the church community, coming from pastors or elders at church that I would talk to, and that I just could never understand that. I mean, they were all married. Marriage seemed to be the norm, at least in the church and certainly in society, although that seems to be changing. So there is a temptation to tell someone what we think they want to hear, rather than telling them what God wants them to know. A pastor told me once that the reason they did not have a singles ministry in that church for finding a spouse was because they felt that singles felt bad enough already that they were alone, and they didn't want them to feel worse if they came to a singles group and ended up not finding anybody. But it is possible to feel worse, and that comes from giving up and then regretting it. The world is telling you not to get married. It's not worth the cost. Too risky, but don't listen to them. MGTOW philosophy exists as a stumbling block to getting married. The longer I live, it becomes more clear to me what is important. And marriage is and always has been and always will be important. Listen to the Bible. Find out what it says about marriage. That's one of the things I try to disseminate here. So who knows, depending on your situation, right now you may be looking at your last realistic shot at finding a wife. I have a video I will release eventually called Is Time on My Side? That will be about how much time you might have left to find somebody. You know, I begin to think when you become 25 or 30 almost, you wonder if you have enough time to find somebody, or I should say, you wonder if you have any opportunity, because, you know, people get married, they used to at that age, move away, I don't know, or maybe they've known everybody they really have to pick from, and so they pick somebody and get married. But, you know, somebody told me once, if you're a single male at 30, you might be alone the rest of your life. And certainly as I approached 50 and even 53, I began to think maybe they were right. But I have no regrets because I did not give up. We can't get back time. And so don't get comfortable being single. I'll also have a video about praying a wife into your life. Now, the other day I saw this quote on the internet. There are two ways to deal with your problems. One is to do something about it, and the other is to complain on the internet. And I think I see this when it comes to being single or trying to find a wife or complaining about women or the state of marriage. And I'm just afraid that you will regret if you give up looking for a wife and focus on yourself like so many people are doing. Now, going 30 years without a girlfriend like I did is enough to drive some to suicide. I know it seems unthinkable to make it that long. I was beyond puzzled. I didn't know what to think. It was very painful. All I could do was pray and remind myself of what God was able to do and what was best, and that He was the author of marriage, and keep trying. I pleaded my need against all hope, it seemed, and eventually God gave me a wife. So you've come this far. Maybe you're thinking about giving up. I just want to encourage you to see it through. You can find a wife. I had to go overseas. Found my wife starting on the dating website Christian Filipina. So I found my wife. I have no regrets that I found my love beyond the sea.